Leaders of Tomorrow, India's largest platform for entrepreneurs. I'm Sanjay Kapur, and you're joining us for a week-long special series that we're calling India at 75. Looking forward to the next 75 and more years of entrepreneurship, and also what lessons we've learned from the previous 75 so far as India's independence is concerned. With that, let me introduce our panel and our guests tonight. We're talking all things manufacturing. We're talking about the automobile and the automotive space. We're talking about the solar industry. All things new, exciting, hot. As we're looking forward, let me introduce then our guest tonight. First up, Gyanesh Chaudhary, MD, Vikram Solar. We also have Sanjay Kapur, Chairman, Sona Comster. Sanjay, Gyanesh, thank you very much for joining us here on the Leaders of Tomorrow for the special series that we're calling India at 75. Taking what lessons we have from the past 75 years, but as importantly, looking ahead, looking forward, and really talking about how the landscape for an entrepreneur in India today has changed. Thank you both very much for taking the time to join us today. And to speak really directly with our viewers, with our entrepreneurs. Sanjay, before I go any further, maybe I could come to you first by way of opening remarks. 2020, everyone thought was a watershed moment for us, was a landmark year. Clearly, at least here in India, 2021 doesn't seem to be going any differently. For you personally, professionally, what perhaps have been some of your biggest learnings? And, how have you perhaps responded to everything that's been happening around us?
Thanks for having us on the show to begin with. It's been a challenging year, no doubt. However, with challenges have come a lot of opportunities. As they say, don't waste a good crisis. We have truly leveraged the opportunities that we saw during this pandemic. I'd say our business has grown, in fact. We've been able to implement a lot of systems to build internal efficiencies. We've been able to, leverage the fact that the global markets have been open, even whilst we had a shutdown of 3 months in the first wave, where we saw a lot of pain. And I'll tell you, in business schools and around the world, they don't teach you, how to manage a business with zero revenue. You learn about different scenarios. You learn about, building scenarios with slight decrease in sales, or a slowdown, but never with zero revenue. That's been a great learning for us, as a nation, as an industry, just from the tier one suppliers, especially if you look at the auto component space, all the way down to tier two, tier three. There's been a great camaraderie in terms of bringing together the entire supply base, the supply chain, especially in the automotive industry, a symbiotic relationship between the OEMs and the supply chain, which has truly sort of come out in this pandemic. So I'd say this pandemic, has brought opportunities. Companies that have leveraged the opportunities have really been successful, and more so, we've seen less bloodshed as opposed to what we saw 2008, 2009, because I think companies are built in a more robust manner. So it's been a challenging experience, and it's been a great learning for us.
How would you want to respond to that, Ganesh? Has it been challenging and a learning opportunity?
Oh, absolutely. Sanjay said it right. I think I have a term that I've been using for the last whole year, and it's like, you hear of black swans, and then this was a mother of black swan as an event. Nobody had factored any of this in their spreadsheets or in their calculations that something like this is going to happen. I think the world, while it grappled with the medical side of things, I think the businesses had to make sure that we were keeping the lights on. All of this was great learning. I think for organizations which were high on the digital scale with respect to how they operated and how they did business. They kind of made it alive. A lot of businesses that I know, from friends and family and associates, I think a lot of businesses took a lot of time to come up to speed. So it's been a mixed bag, I think, from what I understand.
Ganesh, I want to go back to an announcement that you made not too long ago, making you one of the largest when it comes not just to India, but the world. And, really picking up on something that Sanjay said, that using basically this crisis as an opportunity. And for the renewable energy space, how are you ensuring that you've quickly turned around perhaps some of the opportunities that you saw? I'd like for you to, the top two or three things that you as a company have ensured that you are doing daily, monthly, yearly, so that you are perhaps constantly innovating, you're staying agile in an industry that's changing so fast.
For us, it was very important to keep on track with our plans, with our growth plans, and I saw that we were delayed. 2020 was the year where we were going to start the new manufacturing plant in Tamil Nadu, but because of the pandemic, decisions were taken later than usual. There was a lockdown, countrywide and things like that. But for me personally, it was quite challenging yet productive to be able to see this investment through and make sure that we are able to come out on the other side, probably making up on some lost time and still being able to deliver product on time. It's been interesting, while the challenges continued.
Okay, Sanjay, I want to talk about your IPO. Here on the Leaders of Tomorrow, we've been doing a special series talking to small businesses which have looked at the IPO market. There are a slew of IPOs here in the country of late, possibly, especially in the startup space, possibly because, SEBI has changed around a lot of the guidelines, perhaps making it easier. But it is definitely good to see that a lot of small businesses are looking at the IPO route versus just going the traditional route when it comes to fundraising. Going by your own experience, if you could talk to us small businesses, talk to our viewers about what helped you and how did you prepare for the IPO, why did you think perhaps this was a good time for you, just your thought process behind that, and use your answer to really advise our businesses about how they perhaps should know whether they're ready for an IPO or not.
So I think, from our personal experience, we've built a very robust business. We've constantly invested in technology, and I continuously say this to all small entrepreneurs, to large businesses as well as small businesses. It's private sector's role and responsibility to invest in technology. That's really what's going to get us ahead, or keep us ahead of the curve. We feel the macros are good, the macros are strong. The country is on a growth trajectory. Whilst we will have ups and downs and cycles, those are very, very normal. The macros of Indian businesses are good. I feel that just we felt that this was the right time for us to IPO. We also had a private equity investor, Blackstone, who needed an
Yeah.
exit, or who wanted to exit through way of IPO, and we felt the timing was right. We're sitting on some great technology, and we're forayed into the EV space, the electric vehicle space, which also
Yeah.
I believe will grow very rapidly, in the very near future. Every year, the time frame tracks by 5 years in terms of what countries are announcing globally
Yeah.
on how they're going to go EV, and that's definitely a positive. So, we leverage that opportunity. We leverage the fact that we are an automotive technology business, as opposed to just a pure play auto component business. And I feel that the SME segment across the globe, across the nation, has got to invest in technology. In the automotive space, in particular, when we began our businesses, we all started with joint venture partners, and we brought in joint venture partners for the pure reason that we needed technology. We were very soon we adopted these technologies, we learned these technologies, and now it is our role as tier one to introduce technology to tier two and tier three suppliers, as well as bring in the opportunity for joint ventures, or technology partnerships. And again, I can't stress enough
Sure.
how important technology is for the future.
Gentlemen, I have to take a quick break on that note. We're back in just a moment. Welcome back. You're with us here on Leaders of Tomorrow. Tonight, we are in conversation with Sona Comstar and Vikram Solar. You were saying EV, Sanjay. I just want to come back to that. As part of our India at 75 series, we also spoke with Dr. Pawan Goenka, asking him about his views as far as electric vehicles are concerned. No surprises what his answers were. I noticed about 14% of your revenue at the moment comes from the electric vehicle space. My question really is for an entrepreneur who's perhaps in the auto space. Could you talk to them about where perhaps you're seeing business headed? How do you think perhaps India will tap into this opportunity and be able to really ride this green and this clean wave as far as electric vehicles go?
Yeah, so we're seeing it in the two-wheeler and the three-wheeler industry. It's rapidly changing. The two-wheeler industry
Okay.
is, I think, 21 million vehicle market, whereas a very small percentage of that today is electric. However, we're seeing this change. It's going to be driven by regulation as well as consumer demands, and we're seeing this globally. So it's not something that's unique to the world and not to India. This will happen in India. We must build the infrastructure. The ecosystem has to be built so that it, supports the EV, or our foray into EV. I feel there are a lot of opportunities. While people feel that ICE has more opportunities in EV, and this is a very long debate we can have. There are a lot of opportunities in EV for a lot of manufacturers. And
Yeah.
again, if we ramp up with technology on partnerships, work in collaborations with each other, this is the way forward for the SME segment to also participate in this EV journey.
Ganesh, Sanjay is saying opportunities. You've also spoken about the opportunities that are available in the solar manufacturing space that you have stressed, and Vikram Solar has stressed in the past about the need to hike basic customs duty. For if you could put a wish list of sorts ahead of the government on the behalf of small businesses, on behalf of the solar industry, what would you like to tell them? How do we make this industry more competitive as one of the largest players in this space? What would you like to tell us?
The watershed moment for India came when the new government led by Honorable Prime Minister came into power, and
Yeah.
this was back in 2014, where the previous government had set a target of 25 gigawatt of solar installation by 2022.
Yeah.
The government came in and quadrupled it to 100 gigawatt, and now we're looking at 450 gigawatt by 2030, 2035. This is a huge number, and we're currently sitting at barely 10% of this, at about 42 gigawatt of installed capacity. The unfortunate thing is that there's a lot of imports. Currently, there's heavy dumping from China to about
Yeah.
80% or panels coming from China, and this is an opportunity lost going forward to be able to create a cohesive ecosystem which will probably cater to this entire demand going forward. That is what we as an industry and me personally have been spearheading at various initiatives by the government and private sector. The objective is
Okay.
to be able to cater to this entire demand from within India. India imported $2.1 billion worth of solar panels last year, and that cannot be continued. That cannot happen. So we need to change that.
Okay, you were saying China, Ganesh. Most businesses that we speak with about lessons and learnings from the first and the second wave is that our raw material supply in the country needs to be fixed. Have we learned for your industry, and Sanjay, this question is to you as well. Perhaps have we learned to become much more self-reliant when it comes to raw material prices? Any advice, any lessons that you could give our entrepreneurs about how you've managed to make your own sourcing, robust, and what would you want to tell them?
Typically, for us, there has been a huge dependence on import, not just from China but from the Far East, like
Yeah.
Taiwan, Thailand, Vietnam, even Korea. Um, this significantly changed in the last 1.5 years. We saw that there's a lot of entrepreneurship coming in from the domestic region, where people are investing in setting up manufacturing to see how we can mitigate, and create import substitutes. I see that happening more and more in the next few years, to create, as I said, this ecosystem which will help mitigate our import bills.
You want to add to that, Sanjay?
Yeah, from our perspective, the import content is not very high. Number one. Number two, we've been able to export to China, which has been a great opportunity for us. We're now supplying into China. Number three, we recently announced that we are working with an Israeli firm to develop a magnetless motor, which means that we will, reduce our dependence on rare earth materials, which are mostly mined in China. An opportunity like that will definitely revolutionize, the motor industry, and therefore completely bring down imports from China. So again, the China One Plus strategy has been very encouraging. I think the government has been very forthcoming in terms of the Atmanirbhar Bharat schemes. In terms of the PLI scheme, they've chosen certain industries for the PLI scheme, and the automotive industry is part of that, where 57,000 crores have been allocated towards, PLI and creating export champions. I think policies like this, laid out by the government, are very encouraging, and are definitely going to help us in terms of building that base, that manufacturing base in India, and strengthening that manufacturing base in India.
As we're running out of time on this panel, I do want to talk about perhaps what are the new skill sets which are going to be required, by the manufacturing space, by the auto component space, by the solar manufacturing space, because the way we work has changed completely. Sanjay, you were talking digital. Ganesh, do you want to add to that? How has it changed? What has changed? What is your advice for an entrepreneur to say in the next 5 to 10 years? This is perhaps, these are the skill sets that are going to become even more crucial. Maybe I could come to you first on this, Sanjay.
So I feel, with the manufacturing industry 4.0 is very, very sort of essential almost, because what's going to happen is, as we automate and introduce industry 4.0, we're going to become competitive. Other companies and countries around the world are going to become more competitive. So our advantage of labor cost is not going to sort of last very long. So we're going to have to upskill, upgrade the skilling, and continuously skill. And companies are going to have to invest in skilling. Associations are going to have to invest in skilling. And I think this is it's key. You're right, in terms of digitization. I mean, look at us today. We're constantly on Zoom, constantly on these video platforms, where we're able to communicate without traveling, and that's a
Yeah.
completely new normal. I feel going forward we will adopt the hybrid model, where we will spend time physically, but more so when we don't need to travel, it'll all be through digital platforms. And digitization has occurred so rapidly, which gives us the belief that anything is possible. What we
Sure.
had planned to do in 5 years, we've done overnight, because the pandemic demanded us to do that. So I feel that
Sure.
there is definitely a skill set required that is very different from what was in the past required, and therefore we're going to have to do a lot of skilling, and it's going to be a big business opportunity as well, and a responsibility of us as a manufacturing and us as an industry to introduce skilling and upskilling across the board.
Ganesh?
Yeah, I completely see where Sanjay is coming from, and I think at Vikram Solar we've kind of within our industry we've been pretty much driving this from the front. A solar panel manufacturing plant, whether it is cell or module, it takes a lot of robotics into it. It's a lot of artificial intelligence, a lot of machine learning, and I think over the last few years we've really upped that game. uh, r- Apart from bringing the costs down with respect to manpower, it's also brought an efficiency in terms of productivity, yield, and quality. I think at a manufacturing shop floor, predictability is very, very important, and to be able to leverage all of these tools and deliver highest quality, I think that's what Atmanirbhar Bharat is about. We want to make sure that we are able to make in India and make the best in India for the world.
On that note, thank you both once again for taking the time to join us here on the Leaders of Tomorrow.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
All right, completely out of time this panel. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any feedback for us, our contact details coming up on the screens as we speak. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.